coming. This is our second to last PTO meeting, but before we get started, we wanted to invite Joanne, representing the After the Prom Party, to say a few words about a really important event.
Thank you guys, and I've been doing the After the Prom. This is my third year chairing the After the Prom Party, and for those of you who have participated in any way, either financially or through donating your time, thank you. And if you haven't had a chance and want to do it again, we welcome you. There are so many ways to get involved in the After the Prom, whether you are letter writing, whether you are soliciting a business, and there's not a lot of businesses you have to solicit, maybe 3 or 4, or whether you are actually there the production weekend where we have over 200 volunteers in 3 days. Transform Tap and Gym. You can see photos on it of what we do. This year's theme is going to be the decades, and it's Throwback Tuesday, which the senior class had picked that theme name, and we have incredible installations. It's going to be a great event. You're going to be really happy your kids are there, and it will be an all-night evening for them right after they go to the prom, which is going to be at the House of Blues this year. So they are going to be really excited to come back. It is the party to be at, and it is a spectacular evening. So get involved in any way. We're kicking off next week on Monday night, where we will also continue Monday nights having craft nights. If anybody's interested in that, that will continue. And it's really the best way to build community, and you guys are wise senior parents and can advise all these freshmen and sophomores to let them know that it's going to be fine. So please join us.
Hello, I'm Martha Huntley, senior parent. We're hosting a party, an adult party for all of us. And it's going to be April 7th. It's a Saturday night. It's going to be actually here in the atrium. It seemed to only make sense that we have the celebration on our home turf. We're trying to keep the ticket costs, pretty modest, and of course we will provide, comp tickets for, circumstances we want to know about that. It'll be kept confidential, of course, to the office. It'll be fun. Come and have a nice, adult party, and gush about our kids and about empty nesting and all that fun stuff. So April 7th, please mark your calendars.
Will there be dancing? You were there.
That's where we got. If you're there, it's definitely dancing.
Everybody's going, right? We're all going to go.
Yeah, let's see a raise of hands of support. Are you coming? Are you coming? Yes, are you I know, it's going to be a blast. So come see all your friends. And, there's going to be so much that is about the kids, the prom, the after the prom party, the graduation itself. It really gets so busy and crazy. Reserve some time for you and for your friends. So we really hope you come. And Joanne is so right. Getting involved with the after the prom party is so fun. Whether you're doing the decorations or you're there the night of, you get to see everybody all dressed up. It's pretty amazing. So a big hands up and support for that. So thanks.
Can we crash that party?
Yes. Oh yes, of course. So teachers are welcome, and of course friends. Like if you have an aunt or a friend that wants to come, absolutely, everyone's welcome. Coaches.
Any questions about the party or after the prom party?
So I just have a quick question. So in previous years, the senior parents want the night off because you always have the kids would want to.
Yeah.
So is that still the way?
So it's up to your kid. We do not recommend chaperoning the night of or participating even the day of, because a lot of times people are picking up boutonnieres or doing hair or whatnot. I have participated in the last couple of years. I'm not going to be staying overnight. I might stay for the first part of it. But what I will tell you is all you get is thank you. Like so the kids are all fine with it, and they don't really care. But if your daughter doesn't want to, we don't recommend that the senior parents necessarily chaperone. We try and encourage more of the junior parents to do it if they haven't had a chance to see it, to do it then, because it's a good time to do it.
Oh, and so my children didn't mind, so I was fortunate.
Yeah.
But you're right, you know your
mind.
kid. But also coming when when the buses are here,
Yeah,
all the kids are
bag
here.
check is a great one, because you get to see everybody dressing up,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that's a great shift.
And that's like
You're there anyway
5:30?
taking pictures.
That's like 5:30.
Yeah, it'll be probably 4:30 or 5. We need to make sure people are there for bag check and not in traffic. But because we have 500 kids coming all at once with their bags. So we will need stuff for even that time, but we really, senior parents are there to take photos that night, come, we'll have an open house, come see what they're gonna see. It's really fun.
And so you know, we have about 20 teachers and guidance counselors
Yeah.
there all night. We'll be there all night.
And there'll be about 30 or 40 chaperones there all night.
We are there all night, 5 in the morning. Yeah. Yes, yes.
But
We won't be at work the
Sunday,
next day,
come
but
out.
we'll be there all night, yes. Yeah.
It is an incredible event. It's an incredible event for the kids to just sort of celebrate, bring closure to their time, keep them safe. It's been really fun to chaperone the years that I've done it. It's hard the next day. It is really fun, so looking forward to it.
I understand that we are talking about the after program. What about what is
So kids come here and we have buses. You are not allowed a what about the prom? How does that work? You're not allowed a limo or a party bus. Everybody comes here, which again is a great opportunity to see, not just your students, but all of their friends who you've known since kindergarten or whatever. And so, we definitely have, tears happening over here, I know. We definitely have parents stationed at different, parts around Cypress and trees, and they're, not in the trees, but here. And taking pictures as their students and friends, come by, and then we load everybody onto buses, and we go down to Fenway, and then they party, and again, there are tons of teachers, guidance counselors, deans, administrators hanging out with them. They get back on the bus, they come here, they get their, sweatpants, pajamas, everything that they've left here, and then they head into Chapman.
And what time typically is the prom?
We start check-in at 6, I think.
Yeah, I forget the exact.
You're gonna get a
Yeah.
whole detail of what the prom is and what you're gonna need to pack in the bag, because the kids will change from their prom or dress or tuxedo and hang it up, and they can come in, and then there's gonna be food trucks, there's gonna be karaoke, there's gonna be a disco, there's gonna be a game show. They're gonna be entertained all night long, a hypnotist. It's fantastic. But and at the prom itself, they are so excited for that, and it's a really big thing. So you're gonna get a lot of information from the deans come around April, and right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of April, let's go to the calendar. Seniors will be having RPIs, progress reports are coming out soon, and then third quarter grades. At that mandatory senior assembly on the 24th, your students will hear all of this stuff. They will also hear about our expectations for the behavior. Yes. Anything else on that?
They'll learn that senior skip day is a myth.
Yep, doesn't exist.
So they tell you
Well, that's
it
really
does.
good to know.
That's right. There's no such thing also as a senior prank, just doesn't happen. No pranks. Yeah. May 1st, last senior PTO meeting, we'll have BPen here. And the theme is
Learning to
separating,
go.
letting go, yeah, moving on.
Yeah.
Bring the tissues. Yep, and tickets will go on sale May 1st till the 18th. It's all done online. All right. Senior final exams, their last day is May 25th. And then there's Memorial Day, prom, and after the prom. Talk about senior class day.
Yeah, senior class day is a great last day together here. Have them all together in the gym. They'll have their yearbooks. They'll get to say their
lunch, sometimes there's a slushie machine or a popcorn machine, and kids are just kind of hanging out signing yearbooks for 2-3 hours. Right, and then hold slips, returning books, all of that, getting their caps and gowns on that day as well.
Write the book from the email that we got from the company?
Yes, yes. Did everybody get information on purchasing a yearbook?
Yes.
And then they get delivered to us, and we hand them out at senior class day.
There's a gap, right? There's a week or so gap between the prom and graduation.
So,
in advance.
sort of, because there's Monday's the Memorial Day, and then there's prom and after the prom.
Yeah.
So Wednesday is just kind of sleeping. And then Thursday is the senior day. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's graduation, yeah.
I noticed that the yearbooks were really expensive. They're $100, and I just wonder, if families needed some support.
Great.
Is there something that we do that?
So I believe on that site, there is a donation box for you to donate. There's also, we have a fund here, our social work fund, who reaches out to kids and families and support there. Anyone who needs a yearbook, we will find a way to bring it. It is an amazing yearbook, by the way. I mean, I too kind of cringe at the $100 cost, but it is truly an amazing, amazing yearbook.
So we polled the guidance counselors, just a couple things to think about as we move through the spring. They said that, it's really important that kids update their Naviance as they move through the spring. It's helpful for us, it's helpful for the future classes to, have us know some information about, what schools they got into, what schools they didn't, so we can help steer kids in the right direction. Third and fourth quarter grades are not sent to colleges, and I should clarify that. The final grades will be sent, so the first and second quarter grades were visible in that midpoint, but then when we sent the final transcript, it just has the one grade for the year. There are some instances where schools may have been in touch with your student where they're waiting to see third quarter grades for a decision, so that's obviously the anomaly here. But again, I say that to maybe ease a little pressure. We'll talk about senioritis in a minute. So, a little pressure is good too, but it's also been, a long and grueling year for them. So I think that that's helpful to know that if, a third quarter grade isn't the best, it's not going to go to school. The final grade is what will matter, which will be the average of the 3 quarters. This one is really important. Once you've made the decision, if college is the decision and there's a school that your child's been accepted to, please notify the other schools. There are students on the waiting lists here and all over the country. If you've made a decision and committed to a school, letting the other schools know about that decision will then help the colleges move through those waiting lists for other students. So we ask that as a courtesy to Brookline High students and to seniors all across the country. Once you've decided, just let everybody know so that those schools can continue with their decision-making process with the other students. And last but not least, it's not too late to brainstorm with your guidance counselors. There are students that are, still really unsure of next steps, and that's okay. We're here to support them. The guidance team is here to support them. We have students that, there's some schools that have very late application deadlines. There's some people that, it's just taking them a little longer to get it together, and that's okay. We're definitely, ready and willing to help those students if they aren't meeting with us already.
So, senioritis, is it real? Our answer is yes, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So the symptoms, laziness, Wearing of comfy clothes, there's nothing wrong with that. Lack of studying, repeated absences, dismissive attitude. The only known cure is graduation. So it's real because when you think about the fall. So, the first 3 years, there's some kind of up and down. We know that junior year is quite stressful, but there's nothing quite like the fall of senior year. And even, students who don't really outwardly exhibit the stress are still feeling it. And so they get through the whole first semester, and then they're done applying. They know that bullet point that it says third and fourth quarter grades don't go to colleges. They know that, and it's a relief. And they're like, and it's like crashing. It is, and it's real. And I know we're being televised, and seniors may be watching. So, although I am saying that it is real. And sometimes, not controllable because you're running, on high, you're running on all cylinders, and then you can stop, and then you're like, so it's real, and we need to support our students so that it doesn't kind of go off track, and then, the grades, the attendance is really bad, and the grades are really bad, but it's real because it's a letdown because of the fall. The fall is up here, and then they can relax, and then sometimes they relax too much. But that kind of down is a real thing. So
We have a few suggestions, short of, the typical scaring the kids and saying that, colleges do rescind acceptances. It's very rare, but that has happened. And we don't believe that the best way to get someone to do something is to scare them. So we have a few ideas, and one of the ideas is to really set some small goals. Like Lisa said, senior year is the culmination of a lot of long-term goals. Many students have been working hard for years and years with that eye to college, and then the acceptances can come in the winter or the spring, and it does feel like a relief, and sometimes they're a little bit over-relieved. So some goal setting is really helpful, but trying to keep the goals small and manageable. So I had a couple suggestions up there, just talking with your student about, maybe this is the time on one test that the student sets a goal. I want to get my highest grade for the year on a math test in the spring. Just to keep them focused on something micro rather than the macro, but that will, just inch them closer to that date in June and keep them locked in. Finishing a paper early, good suggestion. I can honestly say in my years of schooling and grad schooling that happened very rarely, but it's good for for the next step, because it's, in college that's going to be so important. Meeting your professors and getting feedback from them, building those relationships. So now is a good time to practice that. Or another goal could just be to study 1 hour a week leading up to AP exams. Many students have AP exams in the spring, so keeping the goals small and manageable, not feeling overly stressful, those are super helpful.
And then, I think we do a pretty good job. I think graduates of Brookline High, because of our open campus and our freedom and responsibility, do a good job of figuring out the time management. I know, so I graduated from Brookline High, and I know that when I went off to college, among my peers, I had the best time management skills because I was used to the freedom. And some of my classmates, went to schools where there was no, free block, and they didn't quite know what to do with all of their time now that they were in college. Think more about habits in time management. College class is a whole different schedule. We tell them it's a whole different world. You might have math twice a week only. You could have classes in the night, in the evening, in the middle of the day. Your first class could be at 1, right? So just keeping on with the habits that they've learned here and the time management. If they haven't started using a planner, then that's one small thing that they can do. We're looking for small victories here to kind of keep them going. And yeah, and it's a good idea to learn how to now like practice studying. And if you don't do your own laundry, maybe you should practice doing your laundry and cooking, preparing a meal. So all of those things that when they get to college they're gonna have to do, you know, they should try out some of that now.
Like Lisa said, focusing on time management is a way to get them to June too, and to build a skill that they're going to need for the next 2 years. And then most importantly, take some time to relax. And that's a little bit counterintuitive because we are talking about some people that might be over-relaxing a little bit, but maybe in some different ways than the students are thinking about now. So I think family time is hugely important. You know, we definitely have heard and hear from parents, and sometimes we feel it here too. There are some students that are maybe afraid of the next step, and they're not sure. They don't quite know that they're afraid. We like to call it soiling the nest. And so they're behaving a little differently than they usually do. You know, so I get some knowing glances and some nods here. And you know, so maybe that's the time to pull them closer and do some family activities. And you know, the time is a little bit shorter now, and so it's fun, and that can be relaxing for them. Take their mind off things.
With no talk about the future.
Yes, yeah, you know, good plan activity. Recommend a good book. We think that that's a really good idea, just to keep them in the habit of reading. It's a good release, and better than screen time. It will really help them relax. So maybe it can be something that you can share as well.
But if they won't listen to your recommendation, then you just leave one lying around for them to kind of find.
And then, of course, to really encourage them to enjoy all the senior year activities. We're going to have a lot of things throughout the spring. Some of the things that we mentioned on that calendar, but then some of the other things. We have a senior telling your story assembly. You know, and I think every child in this school has a story to tell, and they should be encouraged to do that for their peers. There's lots of great activities. It's still not too late to join a club or to meet someone new at Brooklyn High School. So all of those things, we're stressing to them, and we hope we were able to impress that upon them as well.
Can we go into like?
Sure.
So we want to hear from you what your biggest concerns are about whatever, this second semester, about grades, any questions you have about behavior. Like Brendan said, we see it a lot. I think, students can't necessarily, as mature as they may be sometimes, identify what is going on in themselves and why they're behaving in such a way. But the looming goodbye is sometimes easier when you're upset, angry, and so students often, we see so many friendships senior year go awry. It's like, what are you doing? You've been friends since kindergarten. But they know that they're going to be leaving each other. And so there's a strange dynamic that happens. Maybe you know why. But we see it all the time where, seniors are, fighting with each other. And it's like, you know what? It's easier to say goodbye when you're not close. And we see this all the time. So it's normal too that that's happening at home, right? Because they're saying goodbye to you too. So if they're acting in ways that you're like, who are you? That's likely part of it. Right? It's actually, yes.
Okay, so, I'm Suzanne Slattery, and I'm on BPenn. And a psychologist. So we see a lot of, and I'm a senior, right? So she's told me what's wrong with me a lot lately. She's diagnosed me as having a really legitimate anxiety disorder. And
I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so it's really normal for them to start to separate, and they'll do it in ways that are pushing you away. And so, like when they're little, they go from, sort of when they're little, remember how they run away from you and then they run back and put their head on your knee or climb into your lap? It's a very similar kind of behavior. So suddenly they'll might want to be mad because you don't have time to do a puzzle with them or go to the movies or bake a cookie or something, that they're just like, you never have time for me. You're always on your phone. Or you always have to work, or whatever it is, it's really they're looking for you. They're looking to keep that connection. And they're really scared. I mean, I think a lot of kids are really scared. Boys will show it in a different kind of way. Some of my guy friends are telling me that their sons are really pissed off all the time in ways that they haven't been before. They're kind of walking around like the angry young man. And so I think that, it can really vary, but what they're trying to do is separate from you. And if you're sitting there maybe feeling teary, you might be sitting there feeling like, woohoo, I'm exhausted, I can't wait. And then you might go in between. So we have our own feelings, but this kind of range of behavior, my sister with my niece who's now 25, then they're really close and they get along great and they have a wonderful relationship. But she fought with her the entire summer before she went to college, almost every day. And my sister would call and say, what the hell? This is our last summer together. And I would say, it's going to get better. She's going to come back and you're going to be saying, already you're back? I'm paying all this money and you're back? But, it is. So it's just a process. And so just kind of trying to remember. So when you see anger or you see sassy behavior or challenge, remember that there's fear and sadness underneath that, and if you can kind of just be in the moment still, healthy boundaries can be super helpful. And then talk to each other, because we're not alone, we have each other, so really encourage people to stay connected and talk to each other about it, and just know you're not alone. That's all.
After the party.
Yeah. So what are your concerns? Is anybody getting those attendance calls? Your student is not in class. Your student is not in class. No? Oh, okay. Okay. So you
So I
can.
guess I have a question. What's the move, I guess, for the kids who didn't apply early decision, that they get their decision April 1st? Is it April 1st? I think it's April 1st in March, right?
Yeah, end of March, yeah. March 15th, I think.
Is it an exciting time around here? Or is it an anxious time? Or is it a little bit of both? Or what's the protocol? What does everybody do?
So I think we talked about this at the last meeting maybe. So we kind of follow the kids' lead. We know they're coming. We know there's going to be some kids that are super excited and some kids that are really disappointed. So we try not to talk about it. We let the student come to us and then and tell us, and then we're happy with them or sad with them, and talk to them. But kind of openly, we are trying not, to, make it something bigger, because we know, we've heard from the students, it's hard when you've just been rejected from where you absolutely wanted to go and think that no other school will work for you. And then, the person right next to them in the hallway is jumping up and down, and, so it's hard. So we know. So we just kind of, follow that student's lead as it goes. But it's both, you said, it's both exciting and disappointing, and there's all of those things happening in halls and in offices. And, did you want to add to that, Brendan?
Sure, as Lisa said, I think our guidance counselors know your kids really well, and Lisa and I do too. And so, we know in some of the cases where there's, everyone feels like all their eggs are in one basket, and maybe the guidance counselors are doing some behind the scenes work, and we're ready to celebrate with them. We're also ready to support them as soon as we hear. The celebrations, we tend to keep them private, and so that it's not in other people's faces, because they're, may be dealing with just the opposite emotion at that time. But we know all the cases of where the kids are really have their hearts sad, and we're ready to hear and ready to support or celebrate. So.
Have you ever experienced a student that lost their spot after they get accepted for early decision due to this relaxing phase?
Yes.
Yes? Like,
It's
Does that
rare.
happen?
So if they rescind an acceptance, yeah. And it's rare. Two maybe sometime a year. And it's a drastic change, right? It's a drastic change. So it's not an A to a B. And the C they might question, but it's like D, E. It's a really drastic. And so that's part of, what are you seeing at home? What's going on? That's why you will get an IPR, and so you'll reach out and say what's going on. And we're here to help. If you feel like it's trending in that direction, absolutely reach out. Yeah, it's rare, but it happens.
So a question about a lot of school the decision doesn't come in until the end of March, right? April, and between April to May 1st, there's only a few weeks. And I know my son already told me that he's confident he's going to get in some more school, and then maybe doing visit. And I said, but there's only 1 week of spring break. And he said, oh, don't worry, like we can take time off. But what do we tell school? Like legitimately, like he cannot be sick every day, right?
Sure, and there's room in our attendance policy to do that. Students are allowed 20 excused absences. So
20?
21.
21. The whole year.
21's good.
Okay.
Blackjack, good. Yeah.
So
Go back in and count whatever you're
so
used.
you can see that information on the parent
Yeah.
portal and per class, and so that's not a bad time, in April to go if there's a tough decision to be made between some schools, and it would be helpful to go. We encourage that.
Right, so some students will be able to take more days off than others, depending on how many days off they've already had. Yeah.
So it's excuse. You just had to tell.
Yes, for sure,
the-
absolutely, yeah.
And this sort of feels like the final grind. We have 7 weeks between February and April break. The 5 weeks after April break are much lighter. But there's 7 hard weeks, and the weather will get nicer, and the days will get longer. But we're trying to keep them, if not locked in for all those 12 weeks, at least the next 7.
Other concerns we have? Yeah, Angela, you raised your hand?
I do, thanks. So life after BHS for the seniors. I'm happy that my senior was leaving. I had a little separation anxiety prior to with the one before it, but not so much this one.
I will not tell him that.
It's mutual. It's mutual. That's just for mom. That's not the case for dad. So I'm thinking about how great an environment the high school has been, and particularly individuals here at the high school who've been like second moms, and that kind of safety net here at the high school. And when thinking about kind of life after BHS, are there things as parents that maybe we should be thinking about or considering and assisting them kind of with that independency at college or whatever it is that they decide to do afterwards that's on that kind of adult journal? Because just because you turn 18, is what I tell my youngster, doesn't mean you're really a grown-up or an adult unless you're paying bills yourself and you're not asking for anything. So I guess my concern is are there suggestions or advice for life after BHS? Like that first year, I know is a big transition year, and right? So some students don't necessarily say at the same colleges, sometimes they change majors. They're kind of like all of these things that they may be dealing with on their own, right? Versus where at the high school there was guidance counselor, there are deans to kind of help them kind of talk through that. What is it?
So I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is the college fit for them. You know, is it a small school, is it medium school, is it a big school, is it urban, is it suburban? And kind of figuring out each student's personality and what they need and what they needed here most at Brookline High School, and trying to find something like that at the school. That's my one thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think, you know, we will give them lots of chances to practice self-advocacy, which, you know, we do already, and we encourage parents more. This is the really good time to, you know, say, I'm not going to make that phone call for you, or we're getting that summer job, getting them out there, and, you know, asking if people are hiring, looking, you know, saying, are you accepting applications? Just those chances to practice that, those skills are going to come in handy in the following years.
If parents can answer that question? Parents, guardians? Anybody have an answer to that? Yeah? Yeah?
Oh, sorry, I don't want to take over. I worked in higher ed for 15 years as in the counseling and health services at a couple of different colleges. So what I recommend for parents is, if you haven't considered it, make sure you go to the parent orientation part of orientation. It's really important. You might not think it's very valuable, and particularly if you've already been, but every college is different in terms of, you know, how involved they want you to be, what kind of relationship they want with you as a parent, what the rules are, what's going to happen. And so it's just a really good place for you to get a lot of information about the culture of the school and the relationship with parents. Many colleges and universities now have a parent office, so you want to know about that. And then some of them at parent orientation will give you like a magnet for your fridge with all the key numbers. You can always go on the website and find that information rather quickly, but if there's a crisis, you want that number handy really fast. And so they'll give you that kind of information that you can just have right there for you. And you'll also learn a lot more about the resources. So, you know, most parents, you know, if your child has been, you know, pretty well adjusted and done well here at BHS, you might expect that that's going to continue in college. So it can be a huge surprise for parents in freshman year, or even it can sometimes for girls in particular with eating disorders can start in the fall of sophomore year. So these are just big transitions. I used to always say, like, you know, freshman year is probably the transition to college, or even if you do a gap year, it's probably one of the biggest transitions of your life. When you think that you're going and you might not know anybody, you have to learn how to feed yourself, have a sleep schedule. There's no one there to remind you, you know, when you're sick, what to do. I mean, you'll be texting and calling, but you really want to encourage them to, you know, slow that down once they get there. You know, texting every day in the beginning might be okay, but you really want to start to slow it down to a couple times a week, and really encourage them, because what happens if you do that is they start to get a lot of confidence about the decisions they're making, and that's what you want. You want them, you don't want to be there micromanaging them. You want to make suggestions and recommendations, but your message is, you can do this, you got this. You know what you're doing. And for them to, just like going for help here, you want to encourage them to do that. So if you know what the resources are, academic advising, or you know, any kind of resource, the counseling, health services, you need to know kind of where they are, what they do, what they offer. And if your child has any kind of mental health concern, depression, anxiety, or a physical or ailment or disability, get into the information and meet the people when you go for the orientation, or even accepted students day. You can start kind of under the radar gathering some information. Many kids are really afraid to, and parents are afraid to reveal this information, but once they're accepted, and I have mixed feelings about before you're accepted. I probably wouldn't do it before you're accepted, but once you're accepted, you know, the resources are there for the students, and the people that are there to help want to know your student, and they want to know you, and they want to partner with you to make sure that it's a smooth transition. So if they're ready for therapy, if they've had counseling, what you want to do is have them maybe go in and go with them and meet the people and say, well, how do you make an appointment? And, because by October, by mid-October, most counseling centers are completely overwhelmed with the barrage of students that are seeking services. So if you already know that your student will need that kind of support, get them in early. It's the same thing with health services. If they have a condition, that they're not going to administer their medication for them. So you really want to just get all that lined up. If they need a psychiatrist locally or someone even off campus locally, you can get all that information done in the summer, and it makes it so much smoother in the fall. So I hope that information is helpful. As far as parents, Betsy, you actually read the Letting Go book.
Oh,
Do you want to just say
excellent
something
book.
about that?
Yeah, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, Letting Go.
But
Yeah.
Letting Go is a book that's written for parents by another person like Suzanne, who's worked within the admissions counseling, and it's like having your hand held, and they're telling you what's going to happen over the course of spring, senior year, what might happen in the summer, some of the stories you've just heard, and then what's going to happen to you potentially, like whether you're excited that your child's like headed off, or whether you're kind of you're feeling that that's a precious time lost. So no matter what your spectrum is, I found that book really helpful. I actually gave it to several parent friends for the holidays. So
it's a good one, and the reference is actually on the BPEN website already, so if you need the name of the author. The other thing I just want to say is just be prepared if you don't already have kids in college that you might get calls with tears, difficulty, and they'll be pouring their heart out. It could be 3 in the afternoon, you're at work. It could be at 10 in the morning or 10 o'clock at night. You're nodding, right? So what I want to say, having been on the other side of that at the college, is they get off the phone and they feel great. You, on the other hand, can't sleep, can't work, and feel like crap, and wonder if you should get on a plane or a bus or a train or in a car and get there. They just needed to offload. So know that.
I can't spend another day here in North Carolina. I'm coming home.
That's
When break comes, I'm going to my friend's house.
That's right.
Or they call you and say, I changed my major. And I said, is it a 4-year major? Is it going to get 4 years? That's the plan. I said, and she laughed, and I said, no, I'm serious. She said, no, because my advisor said her mother said the same thing to her. So I said, well, I'm glad you didn't just do this on your own. You met with an advisor. And the other one, the same thing. She went in and pre-med and then said, oh, Mom's going to be mad that I'm changing my major. I said, no, I'm not going to be mad. I'm not living your life. I said, all you need to know is you need to get in and out of Simmons in 4 years. High is a 4 years. College is a 4 years. So, when she was in North Carolina, she's changing that major from elementary education to English. As long as it gets you on track and it gets you out in 4 years.
Good for you. Thank you.
And you meet with your advisor. You don't just, because I had a friend that went to the same college as my oldest one. She took 7 years to get out of it. But she was doing it on her own. I'm going to be this year, I'm going to be that.
Betsy, you have anything?
I was just going to say, can you speak to career counseling or career centers? They're different. And
They're
help
very
with, like,
different now.
summer-
Colleges are
Yeah.
pouring money into career services. These people some of them have been bumped up to VP level, right? Because the colleges really want your kids to get jobs. It makes them look good, and that's what they want. They want you to be able to get loans back, to be successful, and to have a good experience with that. So career services is often at orientation, and they often will talk now where they never used to, and they'll tell you about their services. If not, just cruise by there, and they're happy to see you. You can learn more about what the networking that they have and the resume building. But often now, colleges and universities are starting at freshman year. They're not waiting until senior year. So that's all good, because kids can really get connected and really be starting the process right from the beginning about mapping out the future. If I can be of any help to you, feel free to reach out to me if you have a personal situation that you wanted to talk with me about confidentially. eventually, just as a BPEN advisor, I'm happy to do so. So thanks for listening.
I had two kids that came to Brooklyn High, and they had graduated off their IEPs, but when they got into college, they told me that they need to go back to the main office and get their IEPs, and matriculate them into college to help them. So that's another thing. Kids are on IEPs here, but they graduated off them, and then they get to college, and they're struggling. They went and got them.
That's special education here will support students with making sure that they leave them copies of their most recent testing and their most recent IEP, just so that you don't have to be,
But they weren't on them anymore.
Right.
They had
Right.
stopped,
The law
so-
actually requires, if your child is on an IEP, the law requires they will not seek them out. They don't transition them at all. So the law requires that the student actually notify the college, that's important language, of the need for an accommodation and to provide documentation. So they need to meet with disability services, and earlier is better. Lots of kids don't want to do it because they want to see if they can just make it on their own. But really encourage them to just get it screened up, just get it, set up, and then if you don't want to have the accommodations, that's fine, or at least they're set up. But you do that legally, you have to notify them. They have to be on notice. We have to tell the right people, and it's usually disability services.
Right, it was different for them because they weren't under the board at one time.
Right,
And then they got to college and said, my IEP may be helpful too.
Right.
So the oldest one had went back got hers, and she told the younger one when she's in college, we'll go down to Brookline and get your IEP. And get you back on it.
Other concerns you're having? Yeah.
Thanks for this. This is all wonderful. Very, very good and helpful. There was a wonderful question earlier about your insights as to the tenor, the vibe at school. The highs and lows. And I think we can all benefit from some direction from you. You're nodding as if you know where I'm going.
Well,
My point is, as a town, as a community, I think we can do a really good job in turning down the volume on what is already amped up in so many ways for kids from so many different places, their peers, their parents, their friends. A little story, our older daughter was walking down in her pajamas to have breakfast in the kitchen, and a stranger was in the house and came right up to her and said, "So where are you going?" And I was in Trader Joe's a couple of weeks ago, and someone yelled 2 aisles over, "Where's Talia going?" And we can do, I think we can benefit from your advice here on how to turn it down a little bit. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of competition.
Still in the process is what I say.
I'm sorry?
Still in the process.
Yeah, but what can we do?
Yeah, I think, every time I bump into a senior in the hallway, and I might be curious, like, did you hear from anybody? Did you hear from any schools? I know where you applied, and I don't do it. I don't go there. Hey, how you doing? How was math today? And I wait, like I just take their lead. I wait till they come to me and tell me, I think the staff, because of what we've heard over the years, and because we know that our kids have their own, they feel pressure with their peers, they put pressure on themselves. We've really, we try not to bring it up. We try not to talk about it. And, except for the moments where we need to talk about it, like it's an assembly on whatever college, something like that. But I think, for us, staff, we're not, we've also, this year, are expanding our vocational opportunities for our students, which I am so thrilled about, because not all of our students are interested in going to college right now. And so to expand vocational opportunities, I think just makes us, a better place, a more inclusive inclusive place, a more diverse place. So, you know, we're thinking about, you know, success in many different ways and not just what college you got into.
Yeah, I think what makes Brookline great can sometimes be its weakness too. It is a high-flying place. It's competitive. You know, kids really want to work hard here, which is great. And I think sometimes that can snowball. I can think back to my high school, and this was in the 90s, where we had a big wall in the school where all the seniors wrote where they got into, which, you know, I could never imagine doing now. That caused so much consternation amongst the students, but it was a tradition. And so, you know, we've done away with anything remotely looking like that, and I, you know, agree with Lisa. I may ask a student, what are you thinking about for next year? You know, but never directly about college or acceptances or this and that. What can I do to help you get there? Is usually what I want to know.
I just want to say, what an incredible feeling to have kids at home. It's just amazing. Never faced so amazing. And now I'm crying because I'm having separation anxiety. I don't have PTO meetings to come. Should I go again? Should I adopt another kid? Or should I just come to next year's kid? I stay on the email list. So I still get emails. You know, it's like, wow, thank you. That's really
You said you were crying. Brendan looked at me like, don't stop. Yeah.
not over yet.
And there's a lot more fun to be had too. That's what we keep telling the kids. There's a lot of this spring is got to be done. We're looking towards that.
Speaking of fun, which is of course my favorite topic, what percentage of the students actually attend prom? Does everyone go? That's the first part. And the second question is there an active, are you active in encouraging students to, like, I noticed last year that like students would go by themselves, they'd go in groups. Is that just those cool students that I know, or is this something that's encouraged at Brookline?
Last year for junior semi, we had, I forget how many we had in the senior class.
Wow, I mean,
500. So we had well over 500 kids go to junior semi, and obviously some of them were from other classes, you know, invited kids from other classes or kids from other schools, but we had the most well-attended junior semi last year that Brookline High history. So it's,
I was shocked.
Yeah.
I pulled up and it was like 100 buses. And I saw kids that I would never
Right.
think would go
Yeah.
to prom.
And that's right.
What
So-
I saw was like, oh my God, this is like all kids.
Right. And we do encourage that. Like it's not like those 80s movies where there's like dates and there's some proposals and stuff, but you know, it's not, it's, you know what that is, right? But it's not like, you know, students go with friends, they go with groups of friends. It's very, we encourage everybody to go. And we do, and we like, you know, kids who you would never expect to go, like that's our goal, is to get you to go. Because it's fun, and it's, you know, being together for, you know, kind of one second to the last time, aside from graduation. And we're reaching out to kids, you know, to get them to come. It's a good time.
and I would add the buses that you mentioned. That's both a piece that keeps kids safe, but I think that also pulls a lot of kids in. They don't have to think about who they're traveling there with, or, you know, everyone's taking the bus. And it's kind of fun to have school buses for the junior semi. We'll do, you know, coach buses, and the PTO was incredibly generous last year in supporting transportation costs. So, you know, a huge thank you to the PTO last year, because it's about safety, but it's also about inclusion and participation, which was pretty amazing.
Is there a fundraiser to make sure everybody really can go?
Yes. So our students are doing that. Your students are doing that.
Oh, cool.
So they fundraise to buy tickets prom tickets for students who need. There was also a question about a class gift. If you've heard about a class gift, you are not cutting checks for a class gift. The students are raising money, and in that money that they raised, some goes to reduced cost prom tickets, and then kind of what's left behind goes to the next, goes to the school in whatever form. Sometimes it's a scholarship, sometimes it's a bench that says, from the class of 2018, some, can't think of all the other things that have been given, but, and the students are fundraising that money.
Well, back to the after the prom party, when my boys graduated a couple years ago, there were a few other parties, house parties, but I would just say that parents, shut it down. The idea is to go, the reason Joanne is spearheading this is because they want everybody to be there in a safe place. And so I would just resist the temptation to do that on, prom night. Yeah, because it's about safety and inclusion, exactly what you just said.
I can speak to that. We had an incident because we had an incident at SEMI where some of the seniors were not able to go to prom because of an incident at SEMI 3 years ago. But last year even there was talk of a party and it did get shut down. The administration knew, they told me the party shut down because, and the parent was calling parents saying, I'm going to be there. But the way I look at it, it's 28-year tradition of keeping our kids safe, and the benefit of that is we forget how easy it could become for something bad to happen. It might not be this year, it could be in 5 years from now. But it's don't degrade what we've got. We've got something that's incredibly special. When every other town is shutting down proms, we're able to keep our kids safe, and this is really their last night all together. They will never, ever, ever be all together at night again. Not a reunion, not a graduation night. This is the last night that they're celebrating together. And that's what we tell them too at the senior assembly, that don't have that other party, get into this one because this is the party.
And if you think, not only is it amazing, but it's a lot cheaper to write a modest check to the after the prom people rather than hosting it yourself. Well, I wanted to just add on about the parent party. I love this. I love it when the parents come together. I love hearing your advice and you're so generous with all of us. And the reality is the parents actually don't get together that often. And so a lot of us don't know each other unless you're on a team or you were in Camerata or swim team or something like that. So I would just really, even if you don't feel super connected to the school, or you don't feel like you have, close buds that you go to the party with, come and meet other parents. Share stories, share your gratitude, share your concerns, have a glass of wine. It's not a cliquish thing. It's not. It's meant for everybody.
Right here. I've never seen this woman in my life.
Awesome. Well, I hope that others will feel the same.
So, sort of, you may have the feeling okay, there's just a few more months left. I need to get my kid through. And we're feeling that way too. We're gonna get you through. I know, we know there's that acting out that goes on, and we're gonna be here. We're watching your students. We're ready. We're waiting. We're gonna support them. They might fall. We might, we'll help them get back up. But we're supporting them through. It's here we go. It's the home stretch. But we are always here for you. So whatever you feel like you need, reach out. Do not be afraid to call the dean or the guidance counselor and say, hey, I got a phone call today actually from a parent who said, hey, I'm worried. Here's what I'm worried about. Can you help? Well, if I can't, I will find somebody who can. So please, we're here to help you. We're here to support you and your students to June 3rd. Where I will be blubbering. But yeah, reach out if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you need us. Anything on that? No, thank you.